media, tech and gaming, inside the new wave of M&A.
Good morning, everybody, for being here. We will focus in a very straight way on the new trends in the M&A activity. I'm welcome Luis Portela de Carvalho, who is a lawyer, a partner at Lecto. So we will bring with us the point of view of the lawyers on the M&A activity right now. And then we will bring with us the point of view of two businessmen, also in their capacity as investors. That is very interesting for the M&A activity. Starting from Demos Cassis, that has his own firm, is an advisor, but also an investor. And Dimitri Beliani, that has founded several business and is active across several jurisdictions. So thank you for joining me on this. And first of all, in order to not to waste time, I would ask to each of you the same question, just a quick clue on where we are right now in the M&A activity. So I would say starting from Dimitri, then Luis, then Demo. So we will follow this turn of a question and answer. I would ask how you would describe right now the current status of M&A activity in media, tech, and gaming. And what I mean is, what is shaping, in your view, nowadays, the deal making in M&A?
Yeah, thanks a lot for the question. Thanks a lot for everyone here. I think we are probably in the most cautious area of all times of the history of the internet. The reason why is we see that the user behavior is changing a lot, and the reason why it's fully shaped by AI and ChatGPT's, Perplexity's, OpenAI's. We all see what's happening with Google. We all see what's happening with stocks and the media companies' situation right now. I believe that it's also affecting a lot the M&A status of the industry. So the reason why is because if you think about the previous multiples, especially in the media segment, like 9 to 10 or even 12 EBITDA multiples of the previous 12 months of yearly EBITDA is now a myth, right? Because when people are thinking about what's coming next, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months, not even 12 or 24. And this is why everyone is like very cautious, sitting from the outside, waiting to see what's going to happen. So all the SEO websites are being fragile as ever. The Google PPC, especially the Black Hat PPC, has been affected badly. Tech companies and operators are probably the ones which are the most stable right now. But if you're talking about the media landscape, I think I'm afraid that we're in the most cautious, slow, and careful area of all times I've ever seen.
Thank you so much. And Luis?
No, I agree. I think this describes perfectly what is going on. It's very unpredictable right now. And people are afraid of making the move, especially because past 5 years there was a big activity, some things that were not done so properly, and that makes both the acquirers and the sellers quite cautious. So I don't really have anything to add to what Dimitri said.
Thank you, Luis. Demos, what do you think?
First of all, I would like to thank you, my co-panelists, and the audience that is here with us, and also the people that are watching us. I couldn't agree less with what my co-panelists said today. I feel that, especially on the area of media and tech companies, we have a lot of questions about what is happening with AI. It's a huge debate nowadays. We've seen recently how stocks in the US stock market are changing. Meta, for example, huge issues, huge turbulence. What is happening? How much are we going to spend on AI and how it will evolve eventually? So how much cash are we going to burn in order to be there? And as an investor, especially on this kind of big games, I'm very much worried and very much checking everything on a daily basis. On the aspect of being a lawyer and a private investor on other sectors, I see a lot of interest on what is happening with data centers, and I believe that the demand there will increase worldwide. Is a bit more for the future, not currently, but I firmly believe that this demand will increase. But personally, being a guy that was involved in many businesses that they need to burn cash in order to develop and reach a market stage, I have to be honest that I'm a bit worried on the level of how much finance these guys can attract in order to be in a position to get a market position. So, especially with the open and endless issue of AI, it really comes to one question. Are you willing to buy the bits? Are you willing to invest on people that they have the finance in order to go there? That's the crucial question for me.
Thank you, Demos. One question for Dimitri. As a lawyers, we can summarize, looking at the targets, the potential targets, we see that media companies are looking for tech capabilities. I would say that tech companies, tech operators, they look for content, and gaming studios, they are looking, they opt for distributors and to go direct to the customers. What do you think?
That's a great question. So look at our industry like 5 years ago. Everyone used to operate in silos. What it means that media companies has their own business. They're selling, views by a CPM model, whatever the model was. Tech companies used to sell the product to like companies via SaaS model, agency model, whatever the model is. So everyone tried to operate in silo. Right now, I think, the way we all discussed, the situation in the market is fragile as ever. And now, in order to survive and to be able to improve the margin, now you need to think about the industry no longer as the pipeline and no longer as the funnel, but rather a cycle. So no one wants to buy a CPM, no one wants to buy a viewer. I'd rather buy a customer who is well acquired, well educated, well retained, and I know for sure that it's attributed to a certain channel, it's driven by a certain affiliate or a media company, and it's no longer a luxury, it's a must, right? If we're looking at other niches, it's been there for quite a while, and I think this is where the loss of margin in the moment right now is actually pushing our industry towards being more tech savvy and tech cautious, where every media company is no longer selling the article published on their website. It should sell the whole 360 user experience and bring the customer in, and then make sure that they will retain the customer. If you're looking at the at the traditional media segment right now, I don't think there are many companies which can actually go under the definition which I mentioned. Probably mostly like live score companies. They do have like a very serious DSPs in-house. They have user attribution. They know for sure how to send the user, retain it, etc. So I think the current media companies should be looking at either partnering with tech companies in order to be able to enrich their tech stack, or at the same time investing into buying like maybe third-party white label solutions from other niches in order to be able to make them to enrich their current funnels. That's how I see things.
Thank you, Dimitri. And Luis, at Electo, you are quite active in M&A activities, but you are also a brilliant IP lawyer, no? How do you see right now the role of IP ownership in an M&A transaction, and what is shaping actually the M&A deal?
Thank you for the kind words. I think that's contrary to what happened in the past, where IP in M&A was ticking a box, because you were just looking at numbers and you were saying, I will acquire this company and I will boost my revenue up if you are part of a group or even individual. And IP was just something that the lawyers were there speaking about, documenting, and that was it. Nowadays, I think it's actually the most important part of the transactions we see in this area. The IP ownership is basically everything you have in these kind of companies, because without it, you don't really have a product. especially when we are speaking about asset deals, that gains even more importance, which is understanding exactly what you are buying. Because what we see, or what we saw happening many times, were people buying companies that they didn't actually understand the technology, they didn't know what the technology was, and then eventually either the deal collapsed or you end up with a product that you don't understand and it will go bankrupt. So in a nutshell, this is what I think that IP is playing a more and more important role in the transactions here. And as Dimitri was saying, people are more cautious about this, and they make a lot of questions about what is the IP, who produced it, was it well secured, do you have all the rights? So I think it's a crucial part of the deals nowadays.
Thank you, Luis. Demos, in your capacity as investor, in the past we have always seen acquiring companies, looking for database, looking for technologies. We have already said that, no? But in your view, which is a long-term value for a company? More tech, more database? What you would define a high-level asset in an M&A transaction? What is expected in your view, creating long-term value for a company after its acquisition?
Coming back to what we said originally, which is the crucial issue, the turbulence of the market. Personally now, when I'm looking to invest on companies, I start my due diligence with the structure and how it works. So I look a lot on what kind of technology and what kind of protection the technology has in order to go into this level. I share the view that maths make a lot of sense, especially nowadays, with the tremendous competition that exists on the market. But personally, I like to look on a long-run strategy on how the company is developed, what technology is being built, and most importantly, how they structure this technology in order to work with clients and businesses. Recently, I have been looking a lot on companies that they are based in Cyprus, that they develop a good system with the IP box regime that exists on the island, how they lease this IP box, how they work on it, how they are in a position after to use this technology and attract clients. So on my long run investments, I mainly look on the technology, the data, and how they will develop it in the future. Recently, especially, again, without trying to solicitate things in Cyprus, I've seen that the IP box establishment, the legislation that exists behind it, and the people and the technology that they bring makes it much more interesting for investors to invest in companies there. So the legal structure is also, for me, very important in connection with the technology. And coming back from the previous panel and what they discussed, I really believe that people in general in this industry will need eventually to go onshore, will need to go and work on reputable legislations, countries that they have good regime and good courts to solve disputes afterwards, because a lot of joint ventures are being built. We are all trying to protect ourselves, so we also need a good regime that would safeguard this.
Thank you, Demos. We always say that an operator has success if he's able to be innovative. Innovation is important. It means that within an organization, the creative talent are very, very important, Dimitri. So my question is to you, as a businessman, as an investor, no? How do you see it's the best way to retain a creative talent after an acquisition, apart from money, of course?
Yeah, that's quite a painful one, I would say, because in many cases, the company which is being acquired, sometimes they think, okay, that's end game for us, especially when you're the employee. You know, a lot of people, they get stressed because they feel like, okay, the new company will fully take over, they will, replace our jobs, they will, completely change the decision making, the culture will also evolve a lot. So this is where I'm looking at things from three most important angles. So the first one is the business angle overall. as long as you don't change the business strategy significantly, the talent which used to stick to the previous business vision and the goals, they would love to keep going with the same kind of scenario. So that's probably the most important one. As long as your business strategy is similar, then everything's going to be all right. The second is decision-making process, because if you think about your new company, employees are no longer being involved in the active decision-making, but there is a thing which called RACI matrix, and based on the RACI matrix, they're now like consulted. So it means that they don't have any decision-making power. They just here watching from the outside. I don't think anyone would love to stay in the company like that. So you need to make sure that they are involved. You need to make sure that the key talent is obviously making sure that they're making the right decisions, they're engaged in the right areas of the business, etc. So this is probably the most important. Second thing, and the third one is culture. I remember I was reading a book, I forgot the Intel CEO back then, so he was writing about a certain period of the company where they've acquired like a small subdivision of Microsoft. And this whole division of 200 people immediately became a part of Intel back then. And what they've noticed is that they were culturally so different that it was impossible to stick these two businesses together. And then essentially what happened, they've just broken apart. So I think culturally, you need to make sure that you have a right fit and the right vision on how to embed these guys and make sure the culture fits and mix at some point. So this is how I would say in the current landscape you can retain talent. And honestly, I think that retaining the talent and engaging the talent is the biggest thing our industry needs to learn, because we have a serious lack of talent, and as long as you know how to deal with them and educate them and engage and evolve them, you're going to be all right.
Thank you, Dimitri. Luis, we are lawyers, we provide legal guidance, legal advice, but if you could provide to someone who is involved in strategy a golden rule, a good tip for a successful acquisition in the next 12, 24 months, in your view, which could be the good rule?
That's a more business-oriented question, but yeah. I believe we also can put some regulatory or legal input on this, which is, if you are thinking about selling your business or you have any perspective, don't wait for the moment you are approached to document what you have. Because there's no worse thing than delaying the delivery of any document to a data room or wherever. It will just create the feeling that something is not right on the buyer. So prepare in advance, don't wait for the moment. On the other side, if you are a buyer, probably you are professional in doing it. It's not a one-off normally. So you have a checklist, which is very good that you have a checklist. But you have to bear in mind that each deal has its own specificities. So don't just throw a checklist that suited buyer A to buyer B or to seller B, because sometimes it might not work. It needs to be tailor-made. And now, again, losing time, most of the times it's what kills negotiations. I think that for a deal to happen, things need to move fast. Obviously, you need to tick the boxes and do what the lawyers tell you, but you need to be fast. And one final piece of advice, and this is more for the seller than for the buyer, is if you are selling, you probably sell one time in your life. The buyer is doing it many times. So if you are doing it once in your life, you'd better be prepared and hire the right people to do it with you. Not only lawyers, but also consultants and financial advisors that have done it in the past. Otherwise, you run the risk of just under or overestimating your business, and one of two things will happen. The deal will collapse, or you will sell cheap. Neither of them is good for the seller.
Thank you, Luis. Demos, last question for you. Would you expect an acceleration, looking especially at Europe? Would you expect an acceleration in the M&A activity, or you think you are very close to a saturation point?
No. My view is that I go again always back to what we said originally in the beginning with my co-panelists. We are entering into unknown waters, in my opinion. We are entering a market, especially in the European Union, that we have two major drawbacks. Lack of financing from banking sector, which does not allow new ideas. We have not flexible banks to help innovation, to help business, to help new ideas. So we have big issue with lack of financing. We have been over protective with some areas and some businesses. So this blocks us from having new players on the market. So in my opinion, we are going to face a period of a lot of thinking before entering into any kind of business strategy. And the areas that we will need to invest, in my humble point of view, are areas that they are very and super strong in terms of ability to collect cash when it is needed, especially in this industry. Because in this industry, research and innovation is key and pivotal. So if you run out of cash, you are out of business, guys. So we need to look on this. I'm very skeptical, to be honest with you, about policies in the European Union. I don't believe that we are super market proactive and we don't have the strategies to develop more business in the region. So personally, what I'm looking as an investor is mainly companies that they are well established, well positioned. I'm not into startups and crazy ideas at this point of my life. I'm more looking on solid people, solid business, but again, I repeat myself, people that they are in a position to collect money. Because my view, be careful for 2026. It's not an easy game, guys.
Thank you so much to Demos, to all of you. I do hope everybody has enjoyed this panel and we have discussed very interesting items. So thank you so much.
A pleasure.
Thank you so much to Andrea and his panel. Thank you very much.